Martin Van Buren was an American attorney and statesman who acted as the United States' 8th president between 1837 to 1841. He was the 9th governor of New York, the 10th U.S. Secretary of State, and the 8th Vice President of the United States. He was a creator of the Democratic Party. With the support of well-known leaving President Andrew Jackson and the Democratic Party's organizational strength, he won the 1836 presidential election. He was the third and last incumbent vice president to be chosen president till 1988. Because of the bad financial conditions surrounding the Panic of 1837, he lost his re-election in the year 1840 to the Whig candidate, William Henry Harrison. Van Buren rose to prominence as a senior statesman and anti-slavery activist later in life, leading the Free Soil Party ticket in the 1848 presidential election. Let's learn more about this President of the United States, who was of Dutch origin. Van Buren was born in Kinderhook, New York, where most of the population was of Dutch origin and spoke the language as its mother tongue. He is the only president to have spoken English as a second language and was the first president born after the American Revolution, at the time of which his father worked as a patriot. He started his political profession as a member of the Democratic-Republican Party, winning a position in the New York State Senate before being chosen to the U.S. Senate in the year 1821. In the 1820s, as the leader of the Bucktails movement, Van Buren ended up being the most effective political leader in New York, developing the Albany Regency political system. Following the 1824 presidential election, Van Buren meant to reestablish a two-party system based upon dogma instead of characters or sectional divides. In the 1828 presidential election, he supported Jackson's project with this objective in mind. He ran for governor of New York effectively to support Jackson's candidateship, but withdrew soon after Jackson's inauguration to accept Jackson's appointment as Secretary of State. In his cabinet post, Van Buren ended up being an essential Jackson consultant and helped to form the Democratic Party's organizational structure. He ultimately resigned to help in the resolution of the Petticoat debate and worked as the United States ambassador to the UK for a brief time. The 1832 Democratic National Convention chose Van Buren for Vice President of the USA at Jackson's demand, and he was chosen after the Democratic Party won the presidential election in the year 1832. Van Buren won the Democratic presidential candidateship in the year 1835, and he beat several Whig challengers in the 1836 presidential election thanks to Jackson's strong support. His presidency, though, was rapidly deteriorated by his reaction to the Panic of 1837, which fixated his independent treasury system, a strategy under which the federal government of the U.S. would keep its funds in vaults instead of banks. More conservative Democrats and Whigs in Congress eventually postponed his plan till 1840. The expensive Second Seminole War, a result of Jackson's ongoing Indian elimination program, and his rejection to admit Texas to the Union as a slave state, done in an effort to avoid increased sectional stress, further tainted his presidency. A wave of new citizens, who called him Martin Van Ruin, helped him lose his seat in the year 1840. In the year 1844, Van Buren was the front-runner for the Democratic Party election, but his constant resistance to the addition of Texas infuriated Southern Democrats, who chose James K. Polk instead. In the year 1848, Van Buren was the presidential nominee of the recently established Free Soil Party, and his campaign helped Whig candidate Zachary Taylor beat Democrat Lewis Cass. After 1848, Van Buren rejoined the Democrats, but his opposition to enslavement grew more powerful, and he turned into one of the party's most outspoken abolitionists. Throughout the American Civil War, he backed Abraham Lincoln's ideas. He passed away at Kinderhook, New York in the month of July 1862 at the age of 79. Due to his management of the Panic of 1837, historical analysts and political researchers regularly examine Van Buren as a typical or below-average U.S. president. Van Buren, on the other hand, is most regarded today as a key figure in the development of the American two-party system.